Hey, what's up, folks? Happy Day of Pink. This is Terrence from Rex Pride, coming to you from my living room. Yeah. Um, COVID-19. Good times. World's a changing. And accordingly, we are adapting. With that being said, we had planned big event, Rexdale, Starbucks, bunch of different partners, TPS, all that jazz, performances, anyways, a whole bunch of stuff. But because of what's going on, couldn't make that happen. So had to figure out what to do and engage you. And first and foremost, this day is about raising awareness. It's about educating, and it's about supporting and stopping bullying from happening. More specifically, bullying that has to do with sexual orientation and gender identity. Because that stuff is just not cool. So, what was that, 2007, whatever the case? I mean, you'll find out in this training. Um, but figured, how about we engage, we train, we answer questions, things like that. And so, thanks to Zoom and some tech savvy skills coming at you live, and this video and training is going to be uploaded onto our social media. So feel free to share, um, by all means. And so, um, we've got Zoom going, chats happening, and if people have any questions, they can type it in there and ask for any comments. By all means, type it in there. But for safety and confidentiality, we're going to block audio and video and only leave it for me, the presenter, because I like being in front of the camera all the time. How's a shot? It's interesting. Shout out to West Humber Collegiate Institute. Nice pink hoodies, looking good. Hopefully we can get them on the other schools too in Rexdale. But fits nice and it looks good. It's actually a little bit warm, but it is what it is. So how about we get started? And with the wonderful Zoom account, you can share your screen. So I'll be sharing with you our PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, so let me do that. Hit it, click it, got it. Share screen. Okay, let's try this again. We're gonna have technical difficulties throughout this whole thing, I'm assuming. But it is what it is. C'est la vie. Let's try that again. I'm gonna share PowerPoint. All right, that's sharing. Cool. And let's start it from the beginning. Didn't mess up. We're good. We're good. Make sure I can see the chat. Participants. Great. Yeah. This is interesting. How do I see the chat? All right. I don't know how to see the chat. I can't see the chat. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to head back on the question periods and see if there's any questions and scroll through that. So if anything happens, I'll read those over, answer those, and we'll go from there. Trial and error. We're figuring this out as we're going. Oh, no, actually, just found the chat. Beautiful. Let's do this. Okay, so Day of Pink, folks. Welcome, welcome. And there is a reason to this. There's it started one particular day, particular reason, and I'm about to share that with you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. Here we go. Good times. Oh yeah, that's me. I want to give a special shout out to some of our program partners and supports. We got, I don't know if these things are in your way. I hope they're not in your way. I'll put it over my logo if it is. Anyways, shout outs. Yeah, so special shout outs to Rexdale Community Health Center. They've been a program partner from time, and we are officially going under as one of their core programs. So, bomb, good times. Our funders, OTF, Ontario Trilling Foundation, more specifically, the Youth Opportunity Fund Stream. We have been funded by them since 2016, and they've been an amazing support. Any folks out there looking for some funding and some great funders on top of that, because sometimes your relationship with your funder can really affect your programming. I highly, highly, highly recommend the Youth Opportunity Fund. Great opportunities, great supports. I mean, like great supports, and they really, really understand the work. So shout out to OTF YOF. And then TPS is another major partner of ours, Toronto Police Services. We work together on so many things. We've gone on events and trips together. We're on the CCC committee, doing events. Yeah. Anyways, shout out to Danielle. Danielle, I've known her from time. Has been in this position as the liaison officer, and she is a very hardworking, dedicated, caring, real, straight up person. Um, Definitely someone you want to have as a friend, as a contact. Great person. Shout outs. There you go. All right. Let's see how this goes. So, how did Dave Pink start? Let's hear about it.
This is the story of how Pink Shirt Day began. Once upon a time. No, wait, that doesn't work here. How about the first day of school, 2007, in a place called Nova Scotia, which on a map of Canada is right about here. It's a great place to live. A guy in grade 9 decided to wear a pink polo shirt on the first day of school. A guy maybe like this guy, but not this guy, because this guy is Preston. Some bullies started to pick on him. But then something awesome happened. These two guys heard about it. Instead of doing nothing, they decided they had to do something. They went to a local discount store and bought 50 pink shirts. Then they went online and emailed everyone they knew. They codenamed it Sea of Pink. The next day, a lot of students showed up wearing their pink shirts in support of the bullied student. Take that, bullies. The pink shirt has now become a symbol for the fight against bullying. Way to go, guys! And that is the story of how Pink Shirt Day began.
Now, before we get started, some guidelines. Here's the deal. No video or audio, like I said, are allowed from participants. Safety reasons, confidentiality, controlling space, things like that. Hopefully we don't get any weird pictures drawn on the Zoom meeting here, as we heard some hacking issues with Zoom. Tried to lock up everything. Hopefully it's good. If you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat section or email me later to follow up, either at terrence@rexpride.ca. Be sure you do TERRENCE, not ANC, or terrence.rodriguez@rexdalechc.com. You can send me any comments, questions, any concerns, anything you need, any supports, whatever the case. So this is also not just a training, but we want it to be engaging. So by all means, engage. And if we miss, forget, get anything wrong, let us know. Let me know. Type it in, message, whatever the case. Not the end all be all. People make mistakes. And on top of that, the community is continuing to evolve and change and grow. So, sometimes things are missed or maybe misdefined, whatever the case. It is what it is. But, it's all about learning and working together as a community. So let's do that. No insulting comments or questions will be allowed. Intention is key. So a lot of folks, when I make this comment, are concerned about asking a question and if they're going to offend anybody. If you think you may offend somebody, just think about the wording about it and then ask it. Concentrate on the wording, but really intention is key. If you're intentionally trying to insult, hurt, whatever, then that's going to be obvious. But I'd rather you just consider the wording and ask the question because it's better to ask than not to ask. So putting that out there, and we are all human and deserve respect and equal rights, and it's actually governed under the Ontario Human Rights Code that we do all deserve, and we are um, allowed to those. So yeah, I thought I'd add a little cute video. This is actually my mom, and just if you didn't want to listen to me and hear it from me, listen to her. She's a mother.
So, what would you have to say to those people? Not to those people that would hurt. What would you have to say to, I guess, just the youth or the people who watch this
Yeah.
to learn? They may not be gay or queer, they may be straight,
Yeah.
but they're learning about the topic. What's the major message for those people to help them understand or accept?
Oh, the main message
Yeah.
to them?
For you, from you.
Straight people?
Yeah.
It's like to accept something that is different than you are. To respect that a person, straight or gay, gays are people like us, who we are straight, that they need respect and love, but I don't say love, at least respect, if it's just a friend or somebody that you know, because they're human beings like us. And that's what people forget. The lesbian and gays, they have feelings like we do, you know?
Shout outs to mom. Listen, that woman was born in Italy, raised in South America, 1951. If she can get it, although it took her some time, admittedly, but if she can get it, let's do this. All right. So, safe space. What is a safe space? This is important. Some folks might see some pride colors, might see some stickers, might ask about safe space, ask about, what does that mean or whatever the case. But basically, not just with this community, but any community, safe space is what it means. It's a safe space. It's a place where anyone can relax and be able to fully express without fear of being made to feel uncomfortable, unwelcome, or unsafe on account of biological sex, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, cultural background, religious affiliations, age, or physical or mental. Not too sure how that ends. But anyways, based on anything in those regards. So key components when it comes to safe space, when it comes to community, is you'll either see some kind of pink triangle, pride colors, the rainbow colors, things like that. Just a side note, so the pride colors was actually designed by a person from the community years ago. But the pink triangle is actually comes back from the Holocaust. So, when folks were being tattooed or they had different garments, people who were identified as part of this community were forced to wear a pink triangle, and that identified them as part of the community. And a little side note too, after World War II ended, everyone was released except for people from the LGBTQ community who were still left in jail, incarcerated, because it was still deemed illegal by that time. So even though they had suffered everything they had suffered, they were still incarcerated after the fact. Yeah, good times. Not really. Oh, God. Anyways, moving on. So it's important because it's important because we all need a safe space. So every person, quoted, every person has a right to equal treatment with respect to services, goods, and facilities without discrimination based on race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, marital status, family status, or disability. Here's the thing. Now, if you're an everyday person, you're an everyday person. But I really want to put this out to any folks that are supporting and servicing the community. If you end up watching this, you are governed. We are all governed, but you are specifically governed by the Ontario Human Rights Code when providing services. And so if you feel that you personally are not able to or don't have the capacity for whatever reason to support, whether it's skills, training, or personal beliefs or biases, this community or any community, I highly recommend that you stay away. Because even if you try to avoid, say, the LGBTQ community, you cannot avoid it. People bring who they are and all their rich complexities everywhere they go. So you're not going to find a person that is solely Black. You're going to find a person, say, who is Black, who is a woman, who is trans, and maybe who has a physical disability. We are complicated and complex, so take that to account. It is not just a challenge, but is something to be celebrated. That is what makes us unique and who we are. Yeah, so here's some youth from an organization called GLAAD. Check them out. Yeah.
Growing up, I used to get bullied a lot because I wasn't one of those kids that were the flyest or had the newest kicks because, you know, poverty hit my family at a young age.
When I was growing up in the foster care system, from the ages of 14 to like 17, I was bullied consistently for like 3 years.
I remember being younger and being in foster care. I used to get bullied a lot because I was kind of different. And at that time, I really wasn't aware of my sexuality. So some of the other kids used to pick on me all the time about it.
I can say my mother bullied me because she didn't like my gender identity, so she would torment me and like kick me out the house for days and then allow me to come back until finally that's when she kicked me out for good.
I wanted to join the football team and I wanted to be a cheerleader at the same time. So basically I was like play football and like halftime I would cheer for myself. And like when I was in the locker room, I kind of got like physically attacked by some of the team members, and they were like, "Oh, that I'm the F word," and like boys don't cheer for themselves, and like all kind of nonsense.
I was tying my shoe outside, and this girl came up to me and kicked me in my face, and then threw a paper bag at me and ran off. So that was one particular time that resonates with me because every time I see her when I go to Harlem, all I can do is stare at her and wonder why she did it.
Being raised in a Christian home, I was, being gay wasn't accepted and it still isn't accepted. So I was pretty much antagonized and made to fear that if I continue on being gay, that I would go to hell.
If I wasn't bullied, I would have grown more as a person, and I wouldn't have to play catch up in my adult years.
If I wasn't bullied, I would be more happy, I think.
If I wasn't bullied, I wouldn't have the same state of mind I do right now. I think very freely. I'm like a free spirit, but I mean, that's all because like I was bullied when I was younger.
If I had never been bullied before, I probably wouldn't know what bullying is now, and I probably wouldn't be able to help my brothers and sisters.
If I wasn't bullied then, I would definitely be more articulate with how I express myself, with words, I feel like what I would want to do would be more crystal clear. I feel like now there's potential and I am growing, but there's that kind of wall, that you kind of feel like constipated in life. You're trying to, get through it, but you just can't.
If I wasn't bullied then, I would probably have like a lot more confidence in myself as a person.
I think if I wasn't bullied then, I probably would have had less inner demons to face.
So before we get started on everything, But these terms, so we're going to go through the acronym, the terms, the definitions, all that, so you can learn about those. But please, please, please remember, all of these terms are always self-identified and are not always so black and white. In fact, they are on what is called a spectrum, and some may consider themselves to be fluid. As safe spaces are created where people can explore their identities, the acronyms continue to grow. Spectrum it means like just it's not black or white. It's not the binary, as I said, one or zeros. Spectrum is the rainbow. It's the spectrum of colors, right? And there's so many different variations. And fluid means some folks maybe, like you may have somebody who identifies as a lesbian and their whole life they identify as a lesbian. You may have somebody that, throughout their different stages in life, they have different identities. And fluid, like day to day, throughout the days, identities, experiences, the way we express things, they can change. Um, and that's okay because it's not about the label. It's not about identifying. It's just about living your truth in your existence every day of your life. So we just need to accept people. Beyond these terms, I really want you folks to understand everybody is a human being. And we need to accept people not because they're lesbian, not just, we need to accept them as a human being and accept whatever complexities or diversities that brings for each individual person and celebrate those, So for, Jane Doe, if she ends up being a lesbian, great, we celebrate that, If she is a person of color, great, we celebrate that. Or if she's white, we celebrate that too. We need to celebrate human beings for being human beings and being brave to live their authentic selves and whatever that may be, with the exception of harming others. All right, so moving forward. Here's the acronym. Typically, you'll see 2S LGBTQ+, but the acronym currently, and as I said, always changing, is 2S LGBTQIPA. Yep, it's a long acronym. LGBTQ was previously, anyways, it's growing. Alphabet soup, it is what it is, but let's go through. So first and foremost, before we get into those actual letters, we need to identify, there's two different sections. So first we're going to talk about gender identity and expression. What gender you identify as and how you express it. These are two separate things. They're not together. I know there's like slash, but actually identity and expression are two separate things. So your gender identity is, those pronouns you go by. Do you go by she, her, they, them, he, him, names, whatever the case, it's gender identity. And gender expression is physically how you express that, right? So identity is how do people refer to you. Expression is how do you express that. And an example that kind of helped it put into context with me is that you could have, say, a male who identifies as a male, but expresses themselves in feminine ways. So, say this person identifies as he, him, but they wear makeup and dresses all the time and have long hair. Just because a person decides that that's how they feel that they want to express themselves, it doesn't make them any less of a male or female, vice versa, whatever the case. And that's what we need to realize. It is created by society. Gender is not your biological sex, which we'll get into later. But so gender identity is how you identify, how you want people to identify you as. And expression is just in the wide ranges we can express ourselves, you express yourself. It could be clothing, it could be special interests, hobbies, careers, anything. That is expression. So, sex versus gender. Sex is physically what you are. Gender is all that other stuff, as I mentioned. So, between your legs, between your ears, the idea of sex is it could be your physical body parts, your chromosomes, hormones, things like that. That's physically, it's called sex. Gender is everything else. So I want to call out something. When we have these gender reveal parties, I'm calling this out right now, folks. It is not a gender reveal party. Gender, it's not. You're talking about their body parts, so it's a sex reveal party. So maybe if you don't feel comfortable saying sex and talking about a baby, change the wording, but do not use gender. It's misleading and it's wrong. And let's get on the proper definitions so we can understand people and what things are. Sex, physically. Gender is the expression and everything else. Also, if you see these on forms, healthcare practitioners, all that stuff, make sure you get those forms right. Healthcare system, make sure you ask sex and not gender. Unless you're looking for someone's gender identity, then yeah. Okay. Um, Also, keep in mind, gender is defined by us. Each one of us, when we define gender for ourselves, collectively, then we define it as a society. So, our society defines gender based on body parts, based on sex, and we're limiting um, ourselves by that. So, women are oppressed and limited because they are not allowed to express themselves in whichever way they'd like. Many different populations. But so keep in mind, society deems or decides what gender expectations are, and you'll actually find different gender expectations based on where you are in the world. It could vary. Yeah, so think about that. Moving on. So we got some umbrella terms: transgender and cisgendered. I want to identify these first because they're okay. An umbrella term basically means just a word that encompasses a community. It's generalized. Um, but transgender is more specifically for people who are gender diverse in our community, but it's someone who crosses gender roles. So remember, gender is not physical, it's not the body. It's just gender in general. So this could be somebody that does some physical stuff, or maybe not. But it's really just a general term. It could also be gender queer, gender fluid, gender creative, gender diverse, as I just said. There's many different terms that are being used. But transgender is definitely an umbrella term for the community, and it comes from the Latin word trans. I think it's trans or transcend. Anyway, it means to cross over. Um, that's the root meaning of the word, and vice versa. So looking at cisgendered, if you've heard someone say cisgendered, say somebody is born as a male and identifies as male, they would be a cisgendered male, and it just basically means that someone whose gender corresponds with their birth sex. So their gender identity is in line with the sex that they were born with, the body parts. And also, Latin root word means same side of. That's what cis means. So, if you're wondering about those words, that's where they come from. Now, moving on. Cross dresser, someone who occasionally dresses as the opposite gender. And this could be every once in a while, it could be on weekends, it could be social things, it could be whatever the case. It's just a once in a while kind of thing, not an everyday occurrence. Drag queen or king. I don't know if anyone's ever seen performances. I know there's a lot of bachelorette parties where they have drag queens or kings. The drag community is actually really big in the community. So it's someone who dresses as the opposite gender for a stage performance. So this is a big community, and I think it's underrepresented. It's starting to kind of be recognized a little bit more and more, but not realizing in our community, trans folks, specifically drag presenters, they dealt with a lot of attack and persecution from people in our societies in the past and currently, and even more so people of color, because different cultures feel different ways about it, and there's many different societal oppressions based on genders, as I mentioned, around the world. So this community not realizing, when we talk about the Stonewall riots, when we got gay rights and fought for that for in New York for like 4 days, it was a big thing. Look it up, Stonewall riots. Um, there was even a movie made, and there was not enough representation of queer people of color, specifically the trans community. Those folks were the ones that were really persecuted, arrested, attacked, harassed, everything. And it was because they're visible. This community is very much in your face. You cannot hide. I mean, if someone's gay, you can hide it if you want to. But if you're queer, if you're trans, if you're drag, no, that's not happening. You are out there. Unless you're passing your stealth. Apparently I'm stealth, but I still localize and talk about it because you know what? Education is key, and I'm not denying my life. It is what it is. Transsexual. Transsexual is someone who has or is in the process of, or is going through some kind of physical change. So they've gone through it, or they're in the process, or they're doing some kind of physical change. It could be like some hormone therapies. It could be physical transitions with surgeries. It could even just be like clothing, or dressing, packing, binding. Packing means like put something in your pants, or binding your chest down, or wearing some kind of bodysuit, whatever. Uh, Packing your bras. It's just some physical expression or transition or change. Two-spirited is from the native trans or queer person community. So 2S, that's what that comes from, two-spirited. and it's basically someone who is native and identifies as part of the community from the LGBTQ community, or TS, LGBTQ community. See, still acronym changing. And this is a big deal because the native community actually revered these folks specifically because they believed that they were able to see the world from both the female and male perspective, and this would make them not more, I don't want to say more enlightened, but they had a greater view of the world and could understand and empathize and bridge communication and gaps between communities and people. So yeah, intersex. This is a big one. This used to be the word hermaphrodite. Now, don't say that word again. Don't use hermaphrodite. I just used it again. But anyways, don't use it. This is not a politically correct word anymore. It is called intersex now, and it is a person born with a variation of biological components, meaning they have determined that not only now can you find somebody who maybe has breasts and a penis, but you could also have different variations even within the genetic, biological components. So, say for example, you could have somebody that has female chromosomes and a completely male body, or vice versa. But anyways, we found now that there's not just variations with the body, but also within the genetic coding of the chromosomes, hormones, things like that, which is why now it's called intersex, to incorporate all those different variations. So intersexed, cool. I talked about pronouns earlier. Pronouns incorporate, please. I made a note of this. This is very important, especially for professionals. And this is happening, I noticed, in the social service sector, some educational sectors here and there. This needs to happen more and more, and it's really, really simple. But just incorporate it into your introductions, your emails, your signatures, your email signatures, sorry, anything, your name tags. When you have "Hello, my name is," you could do it in that. When you introduce yourself. I remember I did a training with someone, youth used to be in the program, and they were introducing themselves to all these professionals, and like, "Hi, my name is so and so, and I go by they them pronouns." And it was just shaking the hand, saying that every single time, and it was the greatest thing. A little shocker for everybody, but it's a great example of how you do that. In your email signature, put it at the bottom, put it in brackets, pronouns, he, him, whatever you prefer, go for it. And when you speaking to groups, this happens a lot. You can use people, you can use folks, everyone, humans, whatever. Don't say ladies and gentlemen, because it's pretty binary, not very inclusive. Boys and girls, yeah, no. So, any questions on that? No, not seeing any. Okay, moving on. This is a video sent to us by one of our youth in our program, Noah. Currently stuck in Brazil. Shout outs to Noah, I apologize. He will be making his way back to Canada when all this stuff is done with COVID. But he wanted to share this with you folks. Amazing performer. It is a song called "What About Us" by Pink. And here we go.
Searchlights we can see in the dark. We are rockets pointing up at the stars. We are billions of beautiful hearts, and you sold us down a river too far. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happily ever after? What about us? What about all the plans that end up in disaster? What about love? What about trust? What about us? We have problems that need to be solved. We are children enough is enough. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happily ever after? What about us? What about all the plans that end up in disaster? What about love? What about trust? What about us? Stick and stones, they may break my bones, but hey, I'll be ready. Are you ready? Is the start of us? I want you let go. Are you ready? I'll be ready. What about us? What about us? What about us?
Love that song. All right, moving on. Sexual orientation, sexuality. So this is speaking to who you're attracted to. Now remember, gender identity and expression is how you identify your gender and how you physically express that. Sexual orientation is who you're attracted to. That's another person. That's not about you. That's not about you and how you express yourself. That's about the other people and what you're attracted to with the other people. And this is, yeah, speaking to sexuality specifically. But there's different ways you can connect and be attracted to people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with partners. It can be with friends and family and things like that. So, but really, it's talking about that interaction and that connection with other people, not with yourself. All right, so moving forward. Here we go. So straight is an umbrella term, actually. Or sorry, not straight, sorry. Queer is an umbrella term in questioning, but we'll get to those afterwards. We're going to start with straight and go down the line, as you can see. So straight is opposite sex is attracted to each other. So man attracted to woman. This actually, I'm going to catch myself on something. This could actually be gender as well. And this is where things are kind of getting redefined, where the community has to figure it out. Because if you have somebody who sex is male, but they identify as female, but they're attracted to males, who's to say that they are not straight because they do identify as female? Something to think about. But moving on. And ways that people can be attracted to each other, as I mentioned before, you can be physically attracted to somebody. You can be emotionally, financially, spiritually, intellectually, morally, many, many different ways. You don't just have to be physically attracted. Some people aren't. Some people are only emotionally attracted to somebody, or on these different things I mentioned, or others. So it's not our place to judge. It's to each their own, right? You just got to figure out what works for you and just go with that. Don't need to really worry about other people. That's for them to figure out. Everybody has their own journey. So, gay, other than happy, means a man attracted to a man. Lesbian means a woman attracted to a woman. Bisexual means a person attracted to either male and or female. And very big on this. This is not a 50-50 thing. A major assumption. You got a few assumptions of bisexual folks. First of all, it is not just a phase. Everybody thinks it's just a phase. There are folks who are legit bisexual. Stop saying that. Secondly, it's not a both kind of thing. It is could be like 70-50 or 70-30. Maybe they're attracted to more females than males, and that could be a thing. So bisexuals is not a 50-50 kind of thing. It can be variations. And on top of that, it does not mean that they're in open relationships. That's called polyamorous versus monogamy. A bisexual person could be a monogamous person, meaning that they are interested in, say, they're interested in being with a woman or man, but they want to be in a relationship with just one person, or they could be in an open relationship. But bisexual does not necessarily mean that they are into being in open relationships. So drop that myth and assumption right now. Cool. Pansexual. Pansexual is a very interesting one. It's a person who is attracted to the personality. Sex and or gender have nothing to do with it. This means when you're attracted to somebody, Often you heard people say something to the effect of, oh, she's got a nice butt, or he's got nice abs, or whatever the case. It's like some body feature that they're attracted to. With a pansexual person, the body has absolutely nothing to do with it. Their body could be male or female or different variations. They could have, like muscles, they could be fat, they could be skinny, they could be short, they could be tall, whatever the case. It doesn't matter. The attraction for a person that is pansexual has to do with the personality. And that is what stimulates the attraction for them. So remember I said earlier that maybe some people aren't attracted to anything physical. It could be emotional, right? It could be intellectually, things like that. So that would be a pansexual person where the personality is what's the attraction. Body has nothing to do with it. And then we have asexual. Lack of sexual attraction to others, or low or absent interest in or desire for sexual activity. So this, again, you don't have to be sexually active or sexually attracted to be in a relationship or connect with somebody. And so an asexual person, that would be where they fit into that. And there's many different ways to have rich and engaging relationships with folks, and sometimes even physical can interfere with that. So an asexual person is a lack of sexual attraction, and there's other ways that they can be connected or attracted to other folks. So umbrella term, like I said, queer. Queer is anyone whose sexual identity is not straight. So this was used as an insult back in like the 50s and 60s. I've had a few debates with older folks about this because it was used as an insult. Now it's become the reclaimed language. Granted, intention is key. So if you say to somebody something to the effect of, you're an effing queer, obviously your intentions are not good. But queer, it was used as an insult because queer meant weird. And if somebody was from the community, they were deemed to be weird. And so instead of saying weird, they said that they were queer. And that's where queer comes from. Also, questioning, that's the other Q. So QQ, you saw in the acronym, that's queer questioning. Questioning is anyone who's questioning or exploring their sexual orientation and or gender identity and expression. Questioning, you're part of the community too. Listen, we accept you. Come, we'll host you until you figure things out. But that's the other Q. So that's, yeah, bunch of stuff going into that. That's a lot of terms. Oh, I'm not going to go into any like insults and stuff like that, but just a little history, because a lot of people apparently don't know this. The word, and I'm saying it now, I'm not going to say it again, the word fag, which comes from faggot, that is a word used a lot, and it is a really bad word, pretty much because we just think it's a bad word. No, as is many of these words, there's historical context to them. And beyond the word being used to describe a cigarette in Europe, I think it is, or England specifically, it refers to burning sticks, which is why they actually call a cigarette a faggot or a fag. I don't know if they say the full word, but in relation to this community, the reason why the word was used was because queer folks were also burned at the stake along with women that were believed to be witches. So burning bundle of sticks was how they burnt them, which is why they used it, because they would burn them on a bundle of sticks, which is why it's now an insult to the community. So FYI, just some info for you. Check it out, know what you're saying, and understand the meaning behind it. All right, let's see. Coming over here, click. Questions? Any questions? No. Had a few people in and out. No questions yet. All right. Well, all right. So, not gonna go into like my full life story because today, more specifically, speaking about bullying, in regards to this topic, and I could tell you throughout my whole life and continue in my life to experience a bunch of things in different aspects, and it really does permeate so many aspects. But let's talk about schools. Let's talk about bullying. Actually, you know what? Let's change views, just because. Let's just show. What's up? So, my name is Terrence. As I mentioned earlier, my name actually used to be Cynthia, and I was born a girl. And I'm born and raised in Rexdale. And for folks who don't know the area, either you're from the area and you just don't know Rexdale, or you're not from Canada, whatever the case. When you look at Toronto, Rexdale is the northwest corner of the city. It is out there in the suburbs, kind of close to the airport, um, and that's called Rexdale. So that's where I was born and raised pretty much like 30 years of my life, and now I work in Rexdale, even though I don't live there anymore. Um, and being born a girl and single mom household. Dad was still around, but divorced. My mom was Italian, dad Spanish, family was Catholic. Dad was more Christian afterwards. Long story short, whatever. Um, but yeah, when my journey in my life, I was dealing with both. I was dealing with both my sexual orientation and my gender identity. And at first, I actually thought, actually, I didn't even know what the hell those things were. As a kid, I was more like, I feel like this, or why did you make me a boy, or I like this stuff, or I really like this girl at school, and I want to be friends, but I want to be more than friends. Shout out to my old elementary school friends. If you ever saw me hanging around you a little bit too much, I had a little crush on you. Yeah, so it was always a deep rooted feeling, but I didn't have the vocabulary back then to say, you know what, I'm transgender, or you know what, I'm a lesbian, or I like women, whatever the case. It was just I feel, and it was hard to figure out and process. And I just knew that there was something about me that made me different from everybody else. And this has been even more so recently a big rude awakening for me. I struggle with anxiety, and lately, past few years, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. And I didn't realize, I thought it was a new thing. But in going through the experience more recently, I realized, no, this is something I struggled with my whole life. And thinking about school, early, young kid, I was going to St. Eugene, St. Maurice, two Catholic elementary schools, and I did not fit in. I barely had any friends, and the friends I did have, they were just acquaintances. They didn't want to hang out with me after school. Don't worry, I'm not sick. They didn't want to hang out with me after school. I didn't get an invite to birthday parties, nothing like that. And in school, most of the time, I didn't have any friends to hang out with. During recess, most of the time, I would be like walking around the perimeter of the fence, singing songs about how lonely I was, or I'd be sitting up against the wall. Um, Almost all the time, I had my mom's handkerchief with me. It's called panuelo, because it smelled like her. My mom was the only love and support I really felt like I had. I tried reaching out to my sister who was 3 years older, but she was like, "Here, gross younger sibling, get away from me. You're annoying." She didn't realize it was pretty much me doing that because I didn't have anybody and I was really flippin' lonely. So pretty much just smelling that handkerchief, thinking about my mom, remembering the one person that I knew that really loved me unconditionally no matter what, despite the rest of the world who didn't and wouldn't accept me. And I didn't know why. And then as time went on, I started realizing why. And there were little moments, and it was pretty much school situations, little moments that just really pointed out how different I was. Girls wanted me to join the girl group, but then, it wasn't really typically the girl that they were used to. So, you know what? No, don't want to be part of the group. Um, I even tried dressing feminine, expressing like wearing my sister's clothes. I think it was like grade 5 or something like that. For one day I went to school, and that entire day I suffered. The entire school laughed at me, pointed, whispered behind my back, in my face, behind my back, all of it. It was such a rude awakening though that day. Like I went home crying, and it was the saddest thing, I know, but it also had a moment where it was like, you know what? I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So screw you. I'm just gonna be me. And that's became part of my story and progression. But like I said, the anxiety is something I've always struggled with because Sundays, day before school, night before school, I couldn't focus. I had butterflies in my stomach. Now it's full on like nausea and tremors and panic attacks. But it was the same thing. It was anxiety. And that's why I was actually really, I'm a kind of girthy guy now. I was a toothpick when I was a kid because when I have anxiety, I can't eat. I cannot eat. And I couldn't understand for the life of me looking back in my life, why was I so skinny back then and now I'm so overweight? Well, anxiety means I don't eat. Depression means I eat. We all go around back and forth between the two a lot. So, dealt with it for a long time, and school was a big impact. Elementary school, like I said, and also hearing like God doesn't make mistakes. I'm like, well, hold on. God doesn't make mistakes, but according to the Bible, I'm a mistake. So what the hell, man? There's another contradiction. I don't get it. There's got to be something wrong. I can't wrap my head around it. Whatever. Telling mom, hey mom, there's this girl at school and she's really cool and I want to be friends. Little things here and there. Mom's like, are you a lesbian? The woman you saw earlier. Yeah. So elementary school, that was pretty much how it worked out. It wasn't really till I hit high school. High school was the big deal. Not only me going through puberty and me really trying to figure out who I was in my identity, I was kind of forced to. My subconscious was like, hey, let me give you some dreams about women and kind of freak you out. But when I was having those dreams, I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I can't handle this. I talked to my cousin, Anthony, shout outs, who came out to me as gay earlier on. I was like, at least I can ask him. And he obviously didn't have answers because, he's him, not me. So he just referred me to his therapist. Went down to C2IS after Toronto Youth Services. He actually took me down, which was a big deal. Not only for me to physically know how to take public transit to get down there, but to have somebody with me the first time going through the experience of going down there, going through the emotions, concerns about the eyeballs watching me getting off at the gay station, things like that, Wellesley Station. It was a big deal. So did therapy, did group. I highly recommend folks do therapy, do group. And that's when I realized, you know what? I like women. First, I was like, you know what? I'm bi. I like boys. It was pretty much because I didn't want my mom to have her heart broken again because she was like, oh, I want you to get married, blah, blah, blah. But I realized, I don't like guys at all. And it was like with guys, if I was ever with a guy, it was just like, are we done? What's going on? When I was with a woman, I was like, oh my God, yeah. Like, oh, this is so exciting. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I love this. It was primal. That's the best way I could describe it. So came out as a lesbian, did that for a long time. Came out to the whole family, came out to my school, transferred. I went from Johnson to Kipling Collegiate, and Monteiro Johnson. Monteiro Johnson's Catholic, Kipling Collegiate Public. So I was like, can't do the Catholic thing anymore, transferred over. And then I went to Kipling and I was like, shit, there's a lot of like Muslim people here who are not okay with me. So that was a whole other experience too. Religion is a big thing, man, whether it's Catholicism, Muslim, whatever, it's all over the place. So I dealt with a lot in the school. Beyond family, we're talking about schools now. So family was a whole ordeal. Schools, I had graffiti in my lockers. I had people following me home from school. I had comments all the time, like insults, dyke, whatever. I had these guys try to attack me in a classroom. It's just like, what the blinking blurb. The teacher had to stop them. And I mean, like, not verbally, physically. Sexual harassment, that was a big one, both at school and at home. Sexual harassment was a constant. And I'm lucky now I don't have to deal with it because I pass. But not any guy, how do I word this, gentlemen? A lot of guys have this idea that for a woman who is interested in women, all you need to do is interact with a penis and you would change your mind. What the blinking blurp is wrong with you? First of all, the penis is not the end all and be all. I don't care what Freud thought. Second of all, how egotistical is that? Honestly, I can't tell you how many women was interested in being with me because men were so stupid. Really. Anyways, I dealt with a lot of sexual harassment. There were a lot of guys who tried, who wanted. I literally got backed into a corner and, pulling up penises. Yeah, so a lot of stuff happened. And the other thing in school was faculty. Faculty. Teachers, principals, vice principals, guidance counselors, CYCs, all of you. Faculty. Biggest impact because you hold the space. You make it safe. You dictate that. You control that. And when you do nothing, it is not safe. And it was not safe. I got asked by my VP to leave my lifestyle at home before I could register in the school. Because 60% of the school was Muslim and they were worried about my safety. Really? Really? You're asking a 16-year-old kid who is already depressed, already, like dealing with suicide and isolation and family, like identity, everything. Like you're asking me now to suppress all that when I go to school? That's impossible. Anyways, that pissed me off. And that is something that's an ongoing issue. There is bullying in the hallways. Yes, there is. And we need to stop it. And the way we stop it is to address it, not just students. We ask students to speak up, stop bullying, speak up. It is not just the students. If anything, it's more the faculty. because you set the tone and the precedence. It is up to you to do that. And if you feel like you're not comfortable doing that, then you need to talk to your boss. You need to talk to the principal. You need to talk to the super. You need to talk to the board to address that and help give you the supports in order to deal with that. And if you're a teacher that doesn't agree or support the community, guess what? Ontario Human Rights Code. You're governed by it. And with that, you're held liable to it. That's a legality issue. And heaven forbid, when I made my full complaint against the school board and the VP, I held her accountable. And I held the whole school accountable. And anybody can exercise that, right? So if you don't want to empathize and care about human beings that you interact with and students you interact with, then I'm pretty sure you're going to care about your job. And if you want to keep it because you need to be doing it properly, you are governed by that law and you need to hold to it. So please take this to heart, whether you choose to empathize and support the community, or you know what, for whatever reason you don't, it's legality. Hold to it. You're held responsible. You're the adult. You're the staff. You're the faculty. It is your space. You control it. You need to do what you need to do to get the job done. So that's my lecture. That's my spiel. Bullying had a big impact. And my way through it was finding supports. So if you're dealing with it, if you can address it, say something. Sometimes I was in the mood, you know what? I'll be feisty right back to you. Other days, I wasn't having it. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to crawl in my bed and just appear. That happens too. And that's okay. But the best thing I could say, even if you don't want to deal with it, is find supports. Find other people in person, online, in groups, at school or not at school, whether it's, people your own age, some of the staff, adults, anybody. It's called your support network or chosen family, whatever you want to call it. But people that will be there, that will support you and love you and care for you. Because when life is crappy, you need something to balance that out. You need the good to balance the bad. And if you just focus on the bad, it's never going to be balanced. So find something to balance that for you. So that's my advice, other than, hey, folks, let's step it up and stop the bullying. Let's stop this. It's 2020. Honestly, get with the flipping times, man. Like, generations are going to be looking back at us and be like, yo, these people were dumb. Anyways, so I'm going to flip the screen again. Got a little bit more. And by all means, if y'all have any questions, ask me in the chat, whatever. If later on, anybody watching this, if you feel like you want to ask me any questions, supports, how to access things, resources, if you have any questions for me about what I went through, or even the trans stuff, like I have a lot of people ask me questions about the transition, I'm open to it. I'd rather you ask me and educate yourself than not. Now, and I'm not representing the whole community or all trans folks, whatever the case. I'm giving you permission to ask me. Just me. I can't speak for anybody else, all right? All right, so wrapping up the session now, but I want to let you know, obviously, got to give some resources, especially now with everything going on. There are folks that can help. You can reach out for support. The youth line is a big one. Give them a shout, give them a text, give them a call. Check out their site, theyouthline.ca, not the youthline, youthline.ca. Check them out. Those are folks who are from the community that you can speak to. So it's not somebody who doesn't understand. They understand. Any hate crime, any homophobic stuff happening, any violence, things happening to you, even if you're not sure, reach out to the police and ask. Check it out at torontopolice.on.ca /RHVP /, which means report homophobic violence, period. Folks, hate crime is a hate crime and it's illegal. In case you don't know, now you know. You can't claim ignorance to the law when you're like, I didn't know I shouldn't be doing that. It is illegal and you can't claim ignorance to the law. All right, TDSB. Not too sure about the Catholic Board, but in the TDSB, if you have any concerns, any complaints, anything that you need supports on, check out the gender-based violence prevention group. The links there. You could just Google them. And us, Rex Pride, as you know, Rex Pride stands for Rexdale Pride, but it's rexpride.ca. We're on Facebook and we're on Instagram. Check us out, Rexdale Pride. And if you, like I said, if you want to email, you could either email me at my new RCHC Health Center email, since we're going under as their core program, one of their programs, Terrence Rodriguez at rexdalechc.com, or my other email is still going, so Terrence at rexpride.ca. Remember, it's TERRENCE. It's not Terrence, it's Terrence. Anyways, last but not least, PFLAG. PFLAG is a great organization called Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. And these are folks who have loved ones who are queer, and it's purely volunteer based. They answer calls. So, say you have parents that have some questions specifically, too. There's a lot of parents who need to talk to other parents and get some support. Contact the number, call. There will be a parent answering that phone call. Check out their site. There were meetings, obviously not happening now with the COVID happening, but contact them and find out if there's anything that they're offering to support in these times that are alternatives. All right, so that is the end of the presentation training, whatever the case this is. I will be uploading this online as well, so folks who missed it, you'll catch it on there. And again, remember, if you have any questions, give me a shout, let me know. But in the meantime, Dave Pink, now you know what it's about. You know more about the community. Hopefully, you know a little bit more about how to support. Shout outs to folks in the chat. Thanks for joining. And remember, if you have any questions, let me know. Reach out to us. And if not to us, just reach out. There are lots of folks that you can reach out for support. I sent you some resources. I'll put it in the description as well if you want. But that's the main thing in the message. Support, respect, reach out for help. And just remember, everybody's human. Everyone is human, and everyone deserves to be loved and respected. So, Dave Pink, COVID-19, stay safe, take care of yourselves, stay home, but you can still show respect. You got a medium right here. Online, show love and respect. Don't troll, don't hate. Catch you later.
What about us? What about us?